one of 9, welcome to our channel. Thank you for all your comments and messages. Today we are delighted to introduce to you Hermione, who has been a darling coming on the programme before. And Hermione is also one of 9. We are both homeschooling parents, mums, and there's been lots of messages asking about homeschooling, how it works, what it looks like, and if that could be a possibility for you and your families in the future. And I just want to say, lockdown has not been what homeschooling is like. Homeschooling is not seeing anyone.
No.
And having to stay in your house and, you know, working from some sort of alien curriculum that you're not aware of at all. The experience that lots of families have had in lockdown of having to follow what the schools are providing and it being very messy with, you know, everything just suddenly thrown on them.
And quite isolating, I think, because those children are used to being surrounded by lots of people. So it would have been like night and day for them, like, you know, school 1 minute, absolutely not the next. It's just not even close to what we have at home. Guys, I love that you're having so much fun and I don't want you to stop having fun, but
So great.
when you're having fun, when you start laughing, can you go instead of like this? Okay? Be quiet, basically. I'm trying to do that. I really hope they do.
So gorgeous. I have thought of you on occasion. Talking to the child, it's like quite a situation where my inner me is going, oh!
Yeah.
And then my outer me is going, okay, darling, what is it? Come on, tell me. I've got all the time in the world.
That's what they're going to see, is that. And that I have to keep reminding myself of that, especially with lockdown and everything else. But just the franticness is not seen. Thanks be to God.
Yeah, I don't want
They don't know that. And so when people say to me, oh, Hermione, you look so calm with the children, I think, you have no idea. Like, they just don't have a clue.
The truth is, it's not like, you know, not being honest. The truth is, it is okay.
Yeah.
We're only sort of fighting our self that just can't deal with it. But it is okay. And then when you show yourself you can deal with it, then you are dealing with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, but you have to. You have to deal with it. There's like no option not to. Until you go to the bathroom and lock the door and just go, ah!
And you go,
Yes, darling. Yeah? Yeah, I'll be down any minute. Love you, darling. Yep.
oh, story of my life. Yeah.
About twitching.
Sometimes I just go, yes. Like, just, that's all I can manage. I can't even manage, yeah.
You did take your children out of school, cold turkey, all 1 September. Mm-hmm. Did you tell us a little bit why you decided to take the children out of school?
To start with, I resisted for a really long time. So I wanted to homeschool somewhere in me. I'm not sure where, heart or head. You know, they say listen to one or don't listen to the other or whatever. In my heart, I felt that I was being called to be a homeschool parent, a mum. Oh, suddenly I'm all nervous. I think I was probably being called for us to become a homeschool family, and Paul was absolutely amazing with encouraging that. He, as a teacher, has seen all sorts of things at school, which many of them are good and others not so good, and that was definitely pointing him in a direction where he was anxious for the children's future in the state school system. They were not massively unhappy at school, but there was definitely an undertone of discontent in our home, and we were striving to become a family that basically is very difficult to achieve when you are part of the education system. You're held back because you want your children to not be the odd ones out. You don't want your children to be the ones that don't fit in and don't have the games and don't watch the TV programmes and don't have all the things, like all what these things are. And yet, taking that leap was just enormous. It felt like an absolute Everest, you know? It took some really, really clear pointers for us to then go, okay, this is time. And I don't think really we were praying about it enough. I think we were just panicking and like, we must do something about this, this and this. Okay, let's now just try homeschooling. But actually it was very clear. And sometimes in hindsight, I look back and think God was really showing us the way. It takes so much of your strength to actually say, yes, God, I'll do what you think I should be doing rather than what I think I should be doing. And you have to make huge sacrifices as a parent, you know, like there's so much of your life that doesn't actually marry with homeschooling that I had as a mum before the children came out of school. I'd have nice breakfasts and coffees with my friends and, oh, I just popped to the shops today. Paul would come home sometimes and be like, what did you do today? I'm like, oh, well, Yeah, did a bit of cleaning, did a bit of laundry. But there was an element of guilt about the fact that I was at home and he was working. And actually that came in a little bit as well into how amazing things got when we started homeschooling. The balance was restored. I was working hard with the children. He was working hard in his job. And we were both like a team. It was like such an effort. And as a result of that, he loved me in such a different kind of way. He was like always serving in such a different kind of way, realising the sacrifice that I was making. And therefore he felt like, you know, he was sort of, his work was being balanced in a way. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, husbands have to serve their families and it takes a lot out of them, but the responsibility is huge already, let alone it being a little bit off balance, actually. All this to say, a few clear pointers happened. So we were concerned about some of the personal health and social education at the school that was just about to come into legislation, where it was going to be harder for children to be removed from those classes. There are a few issues around just the constant competition in terms of, you know, oh, this person's got this game, can I have this game? We don't have any video games. We don't have anything like that in our home, determinedly. Like, that was our decision, quite a firm one. And it was becoming difficult. The children were constantly thinking, I'm feeling a bit left behind. Or not all our children, but some of our children were feeling more like that. And it was becoming more a thing, you know, and then sort of, well, what do you do at the weekend? How many clubs do you do at the weekend? Or what you know, hobbies have your children got after school? And I just kept thinking, this is not the family that I wanted to raise. Very, I don't know, just kind of almost like commercial. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is what you do when you're a parent. They go to this club, that club, the other club. They have these things, those things, and these things. And then that's just tick, tick, tick. You know, I was like, that's not nurturing in terms of how I want to be a parent and we want, as a team, you know, raise our family. Being in a faith school, not a Catholic school, but a faith school, there were loads of problems with that as well. Just how difficult it was for the children to really be strong in their faith in an environment where that's not upheld, and when they're so young, where you're just exposing them to too much when they're not actually formed. They're not ready.
When Lani was 4 and she went to nursery, it was a lovely nursery and a lovely school that she went to, but I did have that feeling of, I'm passing her on. And in part, that's okay, and that's what we do. And, you know, I didn't want to, you know, she was getting upset and things, but I thought, no, that's okay, that's the right thing to do. But it was more the culture, maybe, the different culture that she was in. She's got some really, really lovely friends that she's still in contact with from nursery, that she didn't continue through school with. She came out of school in reception to be home educated for 5 years. But I hear what you're saying as well. It's a movement of heart. It wasn't I had so much of a problem with where she was at or her lovely friends, but there was something there that I wasn't totally comfortable with, and it was the culture, and it was different. And you know, we live in this free country, and people can live how they want, and that just wasn't the way that I wanted for Lani. And sending her out so young to stand up herself in her little faith, I thought was quite a big, she had to have quite a lot of strength of character and strength in her faith, because they kind of left, in a way, the 30 children in the class to kind of build their own socialisation. I started to feel I quite like this socialisation of the home ed community, and actually that was one of the things that really attracted me to home ed, was the healthy socialisation that I saw between the children not being so caught up with what year group they're in, who plays with who, what do you watch at home, and actually it was more about what they're interested in, and there would be Lani would have different friends in different groups that she'd go to, and I really liked that, and I saw that she could talk to adults and children, and there was less of a sort of heavy divide. I had quite a special experience when I went to Walsingham the summer before, I thought, how could I ever home educate? I'm a single mum. How can I work and home educate? A really unique situation came about. And I think that's the other thing. You know, we worry, we think, but anything is possible to God. So if anybody does have those feelings of, I feel like this would be a good thing for our family, but I'm not sure how, that's okay.
Yeah.
You felt that for a while. I felt that for a while. I really couldn't imagine how it'd work out. And for me, it was a very unique situation where I joined up a couple of other families and they employed me to teach their children as well.
I think really I was resistant to homeschooling and Paul wasn't resistant. He was really for it. He was just so desperate to make sure that they were utterly protected. That's not always possible, obviously, but I totally love and, you know, I'm so grateful for his approach in that way because you're always going to try the best for the kids as a result
also,
of that.
it's worth saying that I'm so grateful for the schools that are out there because
100%, and I love
Lani's
their
in school. Yeah, Lani's in school, and I think different families and different children have got different callings, as it were, or God knows what the way is for them, and that's it. You've got to go with it. Peter was saying to me the other day, you can't go over it, you can't go under it. You've got to go through it. Sometimes that is the way.
Exactly.
And that's okay too.
Yes.
But I think bringing it to prayer.
As soon as you know it's an option, you're interested in thinking, that could work for us. It could, because I think homeschooling is not suitable for all children. Some children actually would not necessarily thrive on homeschooling. I think they would do really well, but they might find that a school setting is actually better for them. I loved the school that the children went to, and I was so happy that they got a place there because that was all in question at the beginning, and all these little things you go through. Harry was at nursery. I loved his nursery. It was incredible, and the staff, amazing, all of them. Anyway, because I was homeschooled, I do think that in the back of my mind it was always like, that could be an option, but it was so much stress for me. I didn't like it. I found it really hard. I felt isolated for all these different reasons. When I was home educated myself, yeah. So I was in school myself until I was year 6, and then I came out of school for high school and then went back at college. I was also living, we lived in mid Wales, and it's absolutely stunning there, but it's very isolated. It is isolated. And when you are, my parents were amazing. They were like the pioneers, amongst the pioneer generation of the homeschoolers.
You were the only person I've ever knew that was home educated. And it was because you lived in Wales and had a big family and had loads of land. So I thought that was why you home educated, because of all of those things.
Dad was definitely like-minded with my husband in terms of the fact that he liked to think that he could protect us, and he sort of built a big hedge around the house to keep us all within the walls of the house in the garden. They were so brave to do it, and they did it for all the right reasons, and yet it was just a struggle. The curriculums weren't easily available. You had to really have a lot more support from tutors and things, because now there's a plethora of things you can draw on, but at the time it was really... You really had to search high and low to find whole courses that parents could then deliver cohesively. My mum wasn't a teacher. She was really, really brave to take that on. As a result of just having been to school and really enjoyed it and loved it until I was year 6, and then being suddenly snatched out and really arguing with my parents, please send me to high school, I will be fine, I will not be led astray, I will be la 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 la, all these things. They were like, no, you're going to come out too. I'm sanguine by temperament, and I really need to be in social settings at least a bit of my day, or, you know, a bit of my week. But I was relying on a couple of social events a month sometimes as a homeschooled child of 12 and onwards, and it was actually a real struggle for me. My mum and I talk about it even now and kind of joke about what happened and how it was. But, you know, she and my father were desperately trying to do the best, but it was really, really hard. And we all had different temperaments in our children, and some of us thrived with homeschooling, did exceptionally well, and others, like me, for instance, did pretty badly educationally. But it's not ruined me. I'm here. I'm fine.
We don't know. Like, we think we can say what we've got from it and what we haven't, but I've always found you to be somebody, in fact, really stand out as someone that's got this inner wisdom. And like as a new mum, when I was a mum at 21, I'd go to you and think, what would Hermione say? Or if somebody says something to me, I'll say, well, ask Hermione, because you've kind of got it, you've rooted in you, because you lived the family life. You lived as your mum, and as your mum was rearing up the children and bringing a new baby into the world, you were there without realising all of those things that you would have got. And also your singing is just incredible. And please, anybody that's Online, just look up Hermione Thomas. She's on Instagram, on
thanks, Maria.
YouTube.
That's so lovely. Absolutely. And I had all the tools that I needed to be an adult that could succeed. I just had to actually say, now it's up to me, not I'm going to blame my parents. So basically, after a lot of soul searching and literally just saying, Lord, what do you want us to do, as every day pretty much, for and a couple of novenas, I think, thrown in there for good measure, we decided to take the plunge, and it was actually to do with our eldest, gorgeous son, Harry, who was struggling with a few things at school. And we just realised that these were really clear pointers that it was time. It was time to just take the plunge. I always said, Lord, when you've given me a bigger house, I'll homeschool. I can't possibly homeschool here. It's too small. Or when you've given me just ridiculous things. I was placing such huge emphasis on God being a vending machine, basically, and not thinking, how can I actually take the plunge and trust and act on the trust that I have in God? Because I do trust him. It's just very difficult sometimes. And I think that when you decide, do you know what, Lord? I can feel you speaking to me. It's blimmin' hard work, but I'm just going to go for it. And then the peace comes. That's when you know you're onto a winner, basically. But the peace was slow growing. It wasn't easy at the beginning. I cried for a good couple of weeks and cried with Paul a lot. Yeah.
Cried.
No, actually, do you know, it's funny because I do hold it together. If I'm finding things difficult in life, I hold it together, and then Paul drags all the emotion out of me. He's very good at that. In the most wonderful way. Honestly, it's healing. It's very healing. He was an incredible support, building the curriculums for me so I could just do it as easily as possible, because I was very anxious, actually. It was really big for me, really big, going cold turkey. And how the school dealt with it, which was perfectly fine, it also showed us we're definitely doing the right thing. But those little things also helped us think, okay, we really are being pushed to decide for sure, and we have to make the right decision. We know the one that we have to make. And actually, our children were so excited to come home.
Wow.
So funny. Anyway, so the curriculums were built. I was crying, but going for it. And 2.5 years later, I can say, I am so glad we did. I am so glad we did. And it was a really, really, even now, I'm like...
No, I'm not sure whether I've got to look over there sometimes. If he's going like this, you've got no idea what's going on.
Am I supposed to... But no, I'm so glad we did. I really am so glad we did. And I see the fruits of it every single day. Not just here and there, not just once a week, not just once a month. I see them every day. Their creativity, their willingness to be helpful. And I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying they don't resist me in a way that they used to when they were at school. So when they were at school, even though the school was great and there were lots of bonuses for them being there, and I sort of had my mummy life, what they didn't do was become a cohesive unit as soon as they came home. It was very much like, okay, I feel bad that they've been at school all day, so now I'll do everything to try and patch up my guilt feeling, and therefore just they wouldn't be involved in my family life as it happened.
Yeah, like you're saying, your day is empty of, needing to work or do something else, or the children aren't there. So of course you should do all the preparation for dinner. You should have everything ready. You should do all the laundry. You should do all the jobs, because that's what you then do in the day, and it's all provided for them. They come home, it's on a plate, and you can almost spoon feed them.
And you know why? Because you love them and you feel bad. That's why. And I realised that it was my guilt as a mum, like my mum guilt, coming in thinking, if I don't have all these things done for them, then they will have to finish a full day of school and then do jobs and chores and all these things. And actually, I was brought up doing school and chores. I don't know why I was so worried about it, but I really was. It was just a thing that I had. And so once homeschooling began, I was saying things like, right, children, we're going to do the dishwasher together. And I was like really worried. What are they going to do? They were like, all right. Because actually they weren't doing 6 hours of bookwork every day. Not that they even do that in school now, but you know what I mean? It's the balance is different, and you learn straight away when you're a homeschooling family, the children do life with you. You do it all together, and the skills that they learn and just watching life unfold in front of them, with them, means that they are well-rounded, because they have to be, they have their corners rubbed off really quick. They just get on with it. So that's a beautiful thing.
Hi, my name's Rupert and today I have been a bit of my homeschooling and I've been doing a bit of my maths and phonics and catechism and when I was finished my homeschooling I built a humongous den. This is Hugo and in there is Jemima. My little sister is trying to destroy my humongous den, but now it can be a guard place with a roof, and this is where the meeting room is and where all our disguises are, and this is the way to get over here. And there's Jemima again. I have no idea what she's doing, and then that's kind of like the whole den. Bye-bye!
So as the only person I knew that was home educated was you. Mm-hmm. So when I was taking this plunge to home educate Lani, the only person I knew to go to was your mum. And the thing that stuck with me, and I've shared it with other people since, is that she said, you need community and it's just not good enough to have them far away. You need people. Well, at least your mum really felt strongly that she needed people there. School's not perfect. Homeschooling's not perfect.
No way.
So we have to find those gaps and fill them and do what we can with them. So it's no coincidence we need in our faith journey as well to have community, to flourish in our faith, in our education, in educating the children. So homeschooling is on the up. There is tons of things around.
Yeah.
So many people homeschooling and there's so many options out there. There's websites and Facebook groups and all sorts.
There's so much available that you really have to actually decide what kind of a curriculum am I looking for my child, my family, and then use that as your kind of ground level and then decide, okay, how can I build that to make it workable for my family?
Yeah. I want my children to be problem solvers and innovative and have creative ideas and be somebody that's going to give a lot to society.
Yes.
So what do I need? I'm sort of looking at school and thinking it's school or something else, and I'm taking from it if I'm taking the children out of school. But actually, what do I want? So clear all of that away. What do I want for my children?
Yes.
And I want them to grow up. I want them to have a strong faith. Mm-hmm. I want them to give as much as they can on this earth and then have eternal happiness. Mm-hmm. I want them to be saints. Mm-hmm. And so how do they get there? So that's my end goal. How do they get there? You know, there needs to be some sort of structure in education. And I think it's really lovely to see. There's so many families, and I'm sure, you know, if you're a homeschooling family, please comment on the video and maybe people will be inspired to communicate with each other. And if you're not and you're thinking about it, also write on there. So everyone does it in a different way. Absolutely. And it can go from super low budget to high budget.
You can have tutor-led education online. You can have tutors, you know, one-to-one in your home. You can find courses from America. They're very, very well adapted to homeschooling over there, aren't they?
Yeah. And there's things that you can plug into, so you've got an entire curriculum.
Or you can just literally use state education system, get the national curriculum printed off the internet, find books that give you that, like CGP, Schofield and Sims. There's billions. And then just execute them little by little, day by day. Off you go.
There are,
you know,
and
your
even
day.
Hybrid, which we do.
Yes.
Hybrid, which for me is like a new level of I'm really grateful because the children are in school 2 days and then we home educate the other days, but the curriculum flows throughout. There are tons of options.
But also you get through so much more in your day than you would in the school timetable. So homeschooling is not for, 9 to 3. It's literally from 9 to 12, 9 to 1. Depending on how old your child is even. And then, they are free to be creative and they're free to do and pursue other things. Like Harry's playing a lot of music at the moment. He can spend 2 hours of the day creating and playing music on his own. And that is amazing. That's developing his brain in such a different kind of way.
What does this look like? Because this all sounds lovely.
Okay, so we start our day with the rosary after breakfast, and then actually just because it's Lent, we've been going to a lot of daily mass, and then after that we start our schoolwork, and we try and work for no longer than 3 hours with lunch in the middle. So we try and keep it from 10, if we go to the 9:30 mass, from 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock with lunch between, or sometimes if lunch runs on, then we finish around 2. But we try not to work all day.
And when you say work, what do you mean?
Course
Books at
subjects.
tables?
Yeah, books at table, and that's not for all the children all the time. So they dip in and out throughout the day. They'll find other things to do. We spend a lot of time, or try and spend a lot of time, just free reading, just because I think that that's the best way to learn. So Harry and Max both have their English courses and things, and then a lot within those courses there's a lot of just read, go and read something on your level from the book list that comes with the course that they do, and so they're often just reading and also obviously doing their work.
Yeah, I think you've made a good point there, and it's worth mentioning that there are good books that we can recommend as well, and so that's something that really helps in community, finding what the good books are. I haven't read all the books that Lani wants to read, but they can ask in these sort of communities and ask mums what are the good things. And also with our hybrid, we get a book list, or with different curriculums, you can have recommended book lists, and these are really helpful.
Really
There's
helpful.
a birthday coming up. Let's get them, some books off the book list.
Really good.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
then you can just go and they can spend all the time reading and what have you. So you've got 3 hours of working, and then what happens next?
They tend to have free time. So our children love to play and just create Lego or Connects, various different things. Obviously the weather's getting warmer, they're using the garden a bit more. We sometimes go out for a walk in the afternoon. By the time that's done, if somebody wants to cook something or, dinner's coming up, it's kind of like, I've got to get on with that now. You've got to just go and entertain yourselves. I'm not your entertainment system. And that's something that definitely I've learned through homeschooling as well, as I was very much aware of. Beforehand, I was thinking, what do our children need to be stimulated?
Provided.
We're not meant to be entertainment systems, but obviously we naturally want to because we love our children so much. And some of that's amazing and really necessary, and other times it's actually not allowing them the freedom to think for themselves, to think, what do I want to do, and how do I want to be creative and learn what I love? So Max, for instance, got a book for Christmas from his uncle, which has been an absolute winner, all about birds. And he has not stopped creating birdhouses, climbing trees, looking with his binoculars around at birds, going for walks and finding birds, talking about their disposition and their habitat and all these things ever since.
So
it's
he can
been
specialise.
amazing. And he's doing this on his own. He wants to learn, and he can't wait to get his first job as in a pet shop or somewhere where he can just be surrounded by animals. That's his thing. Harry, on the other hand, is mad into music. He is just amazing at the moment with his guitar and his bass, which he bought one of himself during the lockdown as a sort of project, and he's now having lessons, and he's incredible, and he's got his first gig on Saturday.
I notice a difference with your children. Your children have always been lovely children, and you and Paul are doing a lovely job, but when you started home educating, it was like a step up. They just were making eye contact with me.
Yes.
And the manners, they're beautiful children. They've got beautiful manners, and they
always
hold themselves in a conversation really well. And I don't think, again, that it's that something's necessarily going wrong in school, but it's just that at home there is more time to, appreciate this. And in the social situations they have to encounter, they have to learn that their education is on their back, and then being a nice person, they sort of have to earn it maybe as well. So Hermione, do you ever find yourself with a baby on one knee, the toddler, you're playing with her, and then you're doing really well over there?
It's the story of my life, and that was definitely where I hesitated, and Paul and I really had to discern. Quite honestly, I was really stressed about homeschooling and also mothering a new baby, and how is that going to work? And Leo he was a year and a half when the kids came out of school, and he's now approaching 4. Or was he 2 years? Anyway, whatever. I was very aware that this child of mine was not going to get the playgroups, not going to get nursery time, and wasn't going to have all the impact, the involvement that my other children have had in their local community, like, playgroups and things like that. And it was heavy on my heart, for sure. And I've been nervous about, will he be different? Will he not? But actually, he's more grown up for his age as a result, because he's surrounded by his siblings all the time. He and Rafi have an incredibly special relationship. They're very, very close. 2 years and 9 months apart, which is our biggest age gap apart from Leo and Pia. And they play no end together when Rafi's not on his books. And he does have needs which I am not always able to meet as quickly as I'd like, and that's really a challenge. But actually, I do believe that he's not going to be a different child and suffer as a result of not having done all the things that the others have done. So I have to let that go and say, do you know what? Okay, Leo, here's an activity. So I bring down a box of animals for him to play with next to me on the floor because he loves to be near me if the others are working, or Duplo or bricks or simple things that we have plenty of, you know, for him to make a bit of a mess and just to discover his own play. And also I have to make sacrifices that I don't always find easy. Like, for instance, small things like, Mummy, please can I sit on your lap? Please can I sit on your lap? Darling, I'm so busy right now. Yes, you can. You can sit on my lap and I'll just have you here and the baby here sometimes and just be like, Lord, I'm so blessed to have this many lovely little souls to look after. And that I just have to be grateful, you know. It's hard, it's hard
I think we put a lot on ourselves because you're thinking, what am I? I'm not providing for him, but actually the children are called to the challenge, and the children are called to their little road to sainthood and all the trials that they have to go through. And the root of creativity is from boredom, from not knowing what to do, and they have to. There comes all the problem solving, the creativity, and the building, and this makes for really good people in our family and our communities and in the world. And ultimately, we want to build our little family is a little window into what we want the world to be like, and we want to create fantastic people for the world.
We don't want to speak about homeschooling like it's all perfect, easy, and it's definitely a good, best and wonderful option. There are other options out there. Sometimes school is the best option for a family. However, with grit and determination, if this is something that you feel called to do, you feel God is really pulling something out of you that's changing your heart, that makes you decide, maybe you're discerning the fact that you think your children need a different system of education. I would say that it's very hard work, but it is so much more than just a little bit worth it. Homeschooling is a team effort. You have to both be fully on board with it. It's a huge decision to make. But I think if you are, and there's real pull towards doing it from both sides, or even one person kind of dragging the other along, which was definitely my experience at the beginning, even though I was homeschooled myself.
You pulling Paul or Paul pulling you?
Paul pulling me. Paul absolutely telling me, Hermione, this is something we really need to take the plunge and do. And then, of course, I was going, oh, for goodness sake, you're not going to be the one that's doing it. We have benefited so much as a couple, not only together as, best friends and soulmates and husband and wife, but also in terms of our spiritual growth and just our understanding of God's vocation for both of us in our lives.